off to college can be a tough time for students, and not just the academics, but living away from home for the very first time. And that is why one mother decided to fill a whole notebook with domestic tips for her college-bound daughter nearly 30 years ago. And a generation later, that handwritten journal has turned into a published book that everyone can use.
Let's see here. I think if we use about 5 or 6 zucchinis, that should be plenty for us, don't you think?
For 1 pound of pasta.
Yeah, for 1 pound, right.
Tweaking old recipes has become a family pastime for Lucia Campilongo and her daughter Gina. It's a tradition that started nearly 30 years ago when Gina was a teenager. Gina decided to spend a year in Italy for college, and her mother was worried.
I sort of panicked and thought, well, how's this kid going to survive? She can't boil water. She's sort of domestically challenged.
Lucia started writing down everything her own mother had taught her about cooking, cleaning, and laundry. She gave the handwritten notebook to Gina at her going-away party in 1980.
I knew I was receiving a family heirloom.
28 years later, Gina is a mother of 2 and still uses the notebook to take care of her family. When Gina's daughter Gianna left for college last year, her parents transcribed the notebook for her. Then they realized a lot of people could benefit from Lucia's knowledge.
The reasons why we had the book published is because we wanted to hand it down from generation to generation, and I didn't want to give up my manuscript. I wasn't about to give that up.
And all 3 generations of the Campilongo women are here. Lucille, Gina, and Gianna. Good morning to all of you.
Good morning,
Gina, hold up. That is it. That is the
it.
original notebook with the olive oil stains in it as well. 30 years ago, going on 30 years, right, that you got the book. Were you shocked? Can I call you Lucia?
Oh, absolutely.
Lucia, when your daughter, Gina, came to you and said, we're going to publish your book, what was your first reaction?
Oh, I was just totally astounded. I couldn't believe it.
I heard you said, what book? You didn't realize what she was talking about.
Right, yes, because I didn't realize that she had it all these years and was using it. She never mentioned it.
And it's not just recipes, that's part of the book. It's also cleaning tips, how to pick out an apartment, the whole thing. But there are a lot of your recipes, and they were very basic because Gina didn't cook.
That's right.
But you can do things to them, you know, to jazz them up,
yes,
obviously.
absolutely.
What is it about recipes like this that are so good?
Well, they're simple and they're nourishing. You get vegetables in your pasta. And
What is the key, though, to making a dish like this?
Well, you just use some garlic and a little red pepper if you like, and salt, and you could use any vegetable. You could use cauliflower, anything, broccoli, Rob, anything you like, any vegetable you like, and it's simple. And
it tastes good.
And it tastes good, and it's nourishing.
Gina, when you went off to Italy, you didn't know how to cook. You didn't really know how to take care of an apartment at all. What kinds of tips really helped you out in this book?
Well, initially the startup tips, because it tells you, she told me how to look for an apartment, what to look, pitfalls, things like rats and roaches.
Which is important, because when I got my first apartment, I didn't think to look if there were mice in the apartment, and it ended up there were. So
It could happen. It really could. And then the startup list. She had a great startup grocery list. And if I didn't have that, I would have been making tons of trips to the grocery store.
do you feel like you're sort of sharing some of your mom with everybody in this book? Because it is the original book that you published.
I do feel like I'm sharing my mom, and I love it. I think it's great. When you have something good, why not share it?
And you've obviously passed the book on to your
Yes.
daughter, Jonna. What tips have you, I see you next to the ironing board. Have you learned how to iron from the book?
Yeah, start with the sleeves first, which I didn't know. It's weird because I learned a lot from just watching my mom and grandma when I was young. So a lot of the book, it didn't click with me that it was actually something new to someone else. So it was all just natural to me.
Because you had already been doing it for a long time. But you know, it's not only great for kids, Lucia, going off to college, it's great for men who may not know how to do it, or older women who may not. I mean, it's not just for younger people.
Absolutely.
Is it a lost art, do you think, homemaking?
I think it has been through the 70s and 60s, but I think it's coming back again. I really do. I think a lot of young people are beginning to get more interested in cooking because of all these cooking programs that are on the air, and doing things from scratch because they're very health conscious and don't want to use products that have all kinds of chemicals and things like that.
Well, it's a wonderful book, Lucia's Survival Guide and Cookbook. I read the whole thing,
Thank you.
cover to cover last night. I learned a lot, so thank you very much.
Well,
I'm making
thank
this
you.
weekend. We'll see how it goes.
Okay.
And also we've got a survival guide of sorts, of sort of a family heirloom passed down from generation to generation, from how to do the laundry to the old family recipes for veal parmesan, what one family learned from each other and what we can learn from them.
But first, I know from experience how hard it is to send a kid off to college. You don't know if they're really prepared to go out into the world. Well, one mom actually wrote all the advice she had for her domestically challenged daughter who was on her way to Italy. And it was such a success that her daughter loved the book. Then she had a daughter. It's time for her daughter to go to college. She decided, maybe I should publish this book so that everybody else has a chance to read it.
Great
so
story.
It's great. Lucia's Survival Guide and Cookbook, and that is Lucia who started the whole thing. We're going to chat with them. It's got recipes in it, how to iron a shirt, everything.
Good,
you know
okay.
what? We want to write one for our kids. How about that? That'd be great.